So let's look at some of the tools you need for soldering. I've got a few here. I'll try and put links in the descriptions to everything you can see, so that if you need to get something you can, or at least find what it is I'm using. So starting with a decent set of cutters. A decent set of cutters, you don't want to be chewing the wire, you just want to be able to cut it and it's job done, a nice cut. These are Fakem, these are piano grade. I've had these for probably 35 years now, still going strong. So cut the wire, and then we need to strip it. Now, there's 3 ways of doing it here. In an emergency, you can use a Stanley knife. This is a nice new sharp blade. Remember, there's nothing more dangerous than a blunt blade. You can apply that to anything really, but what we do is we just roll the wire around the blade, and we're just trying to go just deep enough to cut through the plastic or the outer casing, just to separate the casing, and then we can pull it off, and there's our wire. Say in an emergency it's fine, it's not the best. At the end of the day, if you've been doing a lot of this, you'll end up with loads of tiny little cuts there. You've probably seen these, they're quite common. They've got little cutouts for different gauge wires, and again you just select the gauge you want, strip that down. Sometimes you give it a little twist, but you'll just pull it off. Quite simple. You can also use these for insulated terminals, to crimp the terminals and allegedly snap some screws in there. But they've also got a set of wire cutters. Now these are Blue Point, these are quite good, so they do a really nice cut. I don't know if you can see that, but they're quite sharp, so these are quite good. I like them. They're probably the way I do it most, for a couple of reasons. It's quicker and easier if you're doing a lot of this. So I've had these for over 20 years now. Automatic wire strippers, you just put it in. These ones are a little bit worn because there's a spring missing off the back, so I just have to hold it down, and there we go. But if you're doing a lot of these, it's quite easy. And if you're doing something in the middle of the wire, you can strip it to join onto it. So that's stripping. Next thing is a decent quality solder. I use flux or fluxed solder. It's got flux in the center of it basically, so as you're melting it, it's providing a metered amount of flux for everything you're doing. There's 2 sizes I've got here. This is a 1.6 and this one's a 0.8, I believe. So if you're using very thin wires or a very small job, you don't want to put a lot of heat in to melt this thicker solder, you can use that. Everyday normal standard wiring stuff, that's fine. Don't confuse this with the stuff you use for plumbing. This is for soldering copper pipes together. Some of this, the flux stuff, has got like an acid flux in it, which can affect the outer casing of a cable over time, so don't use that. Next, soldering iron. I prefer a gas one. It's portable, they're smaller. I've got an even smaller one in this, like a little pen size, but this one you light with a lighter. This one's self-igniting. They're quite portable if you're working in confined spaces, underneath a dash or something like that. You don't have to worry about the cable getting in the way. So they're easy to use. You just have to be aware that obviously there's an exhaust vent here spurting out very hot gases, so if you're soldering it, make sure you're not up against a cable, because you're going to start burning it. But yeah, gas ones, or the more common ones that you see are this type. This is a 240 volt mains, and it's a 100 watt. It's 100 watt, it's got a little light, but it's because it's not on until you press the trigger, so it needs a big kick of energy to get this thing up to temperature quicker. I don't really use this one a lot. I'm not a fan of the tip. I find they're a bit too fiddly. You can't get a nice puddle of solder on there, so I tend not to use it much. The more standard type that you've probably all seen is just this one. This is one I'm going to be using today. It's only 30 watts, so you have to give it plenty of time to warm up, but it has got a nice flat tip. Makes putting the solder on a lot easier. They're easy to use. I've ground this one down, so it's not as wide as it was. You can change your tips, just hold them with a screw, but it's nice and simple. We're going to be using heat shrink, so I've got a selection of heat shrink, all different sizes. This is non-adhesive, but self-adhesive heat shrink's pretty good, or really good actually, if you're using it for outside stuff, but for what we're doing, this is just standard heat shrink. I've got a hot air blower for heating the heat shrink. Self-explanatory, but you can use your soldering iron, if you're using a gas one, you can use the exhaust vent to run over the heat shrink and shrink it down that way. So there's another reason why I like the gas ones. You're going to need something to clean the soldering iron, because they do get dirty, and the cleaner the better. So ideally a little damp sponge. This came with the set with the main soldering irons that I got. Or if you haven't got anything like that, you can just use a bit of kitchen towel. Just make sure it's wet, and then when this is hot, you just rub it across it, and it'll knock all the dirt and that off. Last thing I'm going to be using is just a pair of helping hands. They're just basically crocodile clips on a bar, which are fairly adjustable. You can use them to hold what you're working on. Just make it a little bit easier. With these though, one thing to be aware of is these crocodile clips are quite stiff, and the jaws are quite sharp, so you can pop something over them, a bit of rubber, even a bit of heat shrink or something like that, just to protect the cable, because you don't want to crush the cable and then cut through the insulation, so that could be a bad thing. But yeah, basically helping hands. In a car on a wiring loom, obviously you won't need that because the loom will support itself. Before you strip your wires and join them together, get your heat shrink on, because imagine trying to get that one over the soldered joint. Once you've joined this cable together, there's nowhere for it to go. Size wise, you don't want it so tight that it barely goes on, because you'll probably never get it over your solder joint and you won't be able to shrink it down. Same as you don't want it too large that this won't shrink enough and the heat shrink's loose. Ideally, you want it a little bit bigger than the cable, plenty of clearance over the solder joint, but then when you shrink it down, it's got a nice tight shrink. So let's start the solder joint. You're going to strip the cable. If you're going to use a set of these type strippers or the Stanley knife method, just make sure you, on these, select the right size hole. If you use it too small, you will damage the copper cores, same with the Stanley knife. I prefer to use the automatic wire strippers, and what we're aiming for is about the size of your little finger. Gives you just about the right amount of copper. And on these, I aim for the middle of that rivet, and it gives me a nice repeatable joint. We don't want too much, we've got loads of copper to deal with, same as you don't want not enough, so you're fighting the joint. Give yourself enough, just enough to make the joint easy, because we want to be able to twist this together. Get it nice and tight, because what we don't want is any ends sticking up, because when this is soldered, they'll become quite firm and be able to push through any heat shrink or electrical tape that we're using. So a couple of things before we start soldering. I've got my soldering iron warming up, but it's over to the side. I know where it is, so I'm not going to burn myself on it, because these things do get very hot. I've got something to catch any drips. You want something that's not going to burn or melt. Imagine being in a car and you're working near the carpet. You don't want to be dropping any solder, because it can happen, and it can damage the carpet. So something that's not going to catch fire or melt, ideally. So I've got my flux core solder. I pulled a length out just to make it easier to work with. That's ready to go. My soldering iron's hot now. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clean it, because you can see all this gunk that builds up, because we're going to tin this first. Just put a small layer of solder on it, so keep that nice and clean, see, and then we can tin the soldering iron. This is going to make transferring the heat a lot better, a lot quicker. And I've got my helping hands just to hold this in place, make it a little bit easier. Obviously in the car you won't have this problem. And I've got my heat shrink on already, so we're good to go. Now when you're soldering, tin the iron, and then you've got a little puddle of solder. Bring that up at the bottom, and you'll see capillary action will pull that into the copper when the copper gets hot enough. And then working from the top, just melt it across. Go from one end to the other and stop. Leave it, and there we go. That's our soldering joint. That's as simple as it needs to be. Where people go wrong is they put the solder onto the soldering iron from the top and try and drop hot solder onto the copper. As soon as it hits, it cools. It's what they call a cold joint. That's where you get all sorts of impurities get into the joint, and it's no good. Start from the bottom, capillary action. Think of it as a liquid, let it flow into the copper strands, and then you should, when you're done, have a nice all round joint. There's no copper exposed or showing through, and we've got no sharp bits. Right, I've let this solder joint cool down. Reason being is when we pull the heat shrink over it, if this is hot, the heat shrink will start shrinking as soon as you get anywhere near it, and it'll stop you from pushing it over. So heat shrink over there, make sure it's centered, and then we can use our gas soldering iron, just use the exhaust vent just to shrink the tubing down, and don't stay in one place because you don't want to make this, or you don't want to burn this heat shrink because then it'll go brittle, kind of defeats the object. But you want it to shrink down so you've got a nice tight shrink across the cable and around the solder joint. Takes a little while, just be patient, don't rush it. And there we go. And when you're done, you'll see where the solder joint is, just like that. If we look at that now, got a nice secure proof connection. Basic tips for this: strip just enough of it that you need, no more. Don't have too much cable, copper. Same as you don't want to have too short because then you'll be fighting the joint. When you strip it, if you're using these type of strippers, make sure you use the correct size, because if you go too small, you'll damage the copper. When you twist the wires together, make sure you get a nice smooth twist. Any sharp points will, when you solder it, will become a nice hard spike which will pop through any heat shrink or insulating tape that you're using. The biggest cause of failure that I see is make sure your soldering iron's hot. If the solder doesn't melt straight away and form a nice puddle, it's not going to be hot enough to flow into the cables, and you get the cold joints, and that's the biggest cause of problems. Use a good quality flux solder. I use lead solder. I don't get on with the lead-free stuff, but remember this is lead, so when you're finished, wash your hands and don't breathe in the fumes. With any soldering iron, whether it's gas or electric, it's going to be hot. So when you're not using it, if you haven't got a proper stand, make sure you've got something that's not going to melt or burn to prop it up against, and be aware of where it is. Don't just set it down, especially if you're working inside the car. Ideally put it out so at least you can't, somewhere you can't stand on it. And if you're using a gas one, remember the exhaust vent. Probably the most important tip is practice first on a bit of scrap. Get your soldering technique, hone it a bit, get a bit of confidence with it, and then tackle the job. It's not difficult, just take your time and you'll get there. Hopefully you've liked this one. If you made it to the end, thanks for watching. Have a look at some of my other stuff. I'll see you on the next one.